So my name is Aimi, and I am the leader of Passion for Purpose, which is a global climate project in progress at the moment. And I've always believed that basically age is just a number. And these three special guests here with me today have really proved, that is the case. You've achieved so much these past couple of years, and I'm really honoured that you're joining me here today. And so I will pay the most focus to start with to Licypriya, because I know you don't have much time with us. Licypriya, I mean, wow, you've achieved some incredible things these past 2 years. From World Children Peace Prize and India's Peace Prize. Sorry, I'm actually a little bit nervous. Convincing 2 Indian states to actually adopt climate change. You're taking on the world by storm, and it's incredible to watch what you're doing. So I would like to ask you, at what age do you think children should learn about climate change?
Children can learn in any age from the grassroots. Yes.
Okay, and so what is it that got you interested in the first place? What made you so passionate about standing out and talking about the climate?
Okay, so when I was just around 4 years old, I accompanied my dad for raising funds for the victims of the deadly massive Nepal earthquake of 2015. More than 10,000 people died and lots of people got injured. We went to Nepal all the way from India by the road to drop the food stamp, medicine, clothes, etc. For the victim children and families. I get scared when on television I see people suffering and dying due to lack of awareness. I cry when I see children losing their parents or people becoming homeless due to danger of disasters. My country has many disasters like earthquake, flood, landslide, etc. That was the first time where I learned the word climate change and natural disasters, but I couldn't realize what exactly it is as I was a small baby that time. We don't treat our planet with love and respect it deserves. In July 2018, when I was just 6 years old, I got a chance to attend one United Nations climate conference disaster conference in Mongolia. It was my life-changing event.
Wow.
Okay, thank you. After I returned back from Mongolia in July 2018, I've started my organization called the Child Movement to call the world leaders to take urgent climate action to save our planet and our future.
Yeah. And what I will do is after this webinar, I will send an email out to everybody with the link for the Child Movement so that they can support you and get involved more if they would like to do so. And also the same for Toon and Fatou, who I believe has just joined us from the Gambia. Are you there, Fatou?
Hi, I am here.
How are you, Fatou?
I'm good. I'm sorry that actually I'm a little bit late. I just left another call to be here.
No problem at all. Well, we have to say congratulations to you first of all for your scholarship. Yeah, that's fantastic. So Fatou is going to be doing a scholarship for the environment and development. So you're going to be getting more and more involved over these coming years, which is incredible. And you are the founder of the Gambia Earth, aren't you?
Yeah, Gambia.
Yeah, and so many incredible achievements. So it's an absolute honour to have you here today. Toon Lambrecht is involved in the Youth for Climate in Belgium, and he's been actively working with others in Belgium and actually dealing with parliamentary issues and trying to change for a Green Deal. So we'll go into that a bit further. But there's obviously, for our viewers here and anybody who watches this, there are so many things that we can do regarding the climate. And exactly like Licypriya says, you know, there's a lack of love in the world. There's a lack of appreciation for what we have, you know, care for the environment, and the environment is what keeps us alive. It's what keeps us healthy. So I would love to ask all of you, what are the 3 things that you think our viewers today could do to help the climate right now, to help us tackle it? What are the 3 most important things that you think they could do? So that could be, you know, whether you feel like that's protesting, that's planting trees, that's signing petitions, you know, supporting environmental organisations, growing their own food. So there's so many different things we can do, but what are the ones that are most passionate to you? You know, what do you feel is most important?
Can I come first, or do you want to
You can.
call? I was actually waiting for you to mention names.
Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. So
thank you very much.
You.
I think this is a very important question, and something that should actually be the question for every person as far as our environment is concerned, because we all know the growing effects or the growing threats of the climate crisis globally. And as young people, I believe we play a very important role as far as mitigating or contributing towards addressing the climate crisis is concerned. However, the 3 things that I personally believe we can do to be able to contribute towards climate action is, first of all, because I am very passionate about tree planting, and ever since I started my climate activism, tree planting has been one of the main things that we've been doing, from Plan for the Planet, from Clean Out Gambia, etc. That is what we have been doing, and we've been able to plant trees across the globe, especially for Plan for the Planet. And in the Gambia, we have been focusing on planting trees, especially at the beaches. So I feel one of the best ways we can be able to get engaged as young people is to plant trees, even planting trees in our homes, in our communities, and at the beaches, anywhere that we feel is very important for us to plant trees. I think we should be able to do that, because at least we all understand that individually we all contribute in some way or the other towards the climate crisis. So I feel our individual contribution can also start from planting trees, which can also help us as far as that is concerned. The second thing I believe that we can be able to do is to educate people about the climate crisis. I'm linking all this to the work that I'm actually doing at grassroots level. I'm bringing it down to the Gambia. And why I mentioned educating people about the climate crisis is because in the Gambia, people are really not aware about the growing climate crisis, because there is not many conversations about climate action and what we can be able to do. And it's really, really, really unfortunate to see that even in our primary or basic school level, we don't have environmental sciences or climate change as part of our curriculum. So I feel as young people, and we know that we are going to be affected the most as far as the climate crisis is concerned, I think educating and doing capacity building training is concerned, because even the Paris Agreement mentioned, especially with Article 12, talks about ACE, and ACE has to do with educating and providing capacity building for young people, and as the community as a whole. So I think access to information about climate change is concerned, educating people about their individual responsibilities and how they can be able to act towards climate action. I think these are things that we also need to do. And the third thing that I feel what we need to is to push our governments to have more climate or stringent climate policies, because I believe the reason why we're having most of these damages in our communities and our country as far as the environment is concerned is because maybe we don't have stringent environmental laws and policies. So I feel if we have these laws that are actually banning fossil fuel, banning activities that has to do with pollution and carbon emissions, and also just doing activities that are not really hygienic or conducive for our environment. And if we have measures in place, I think it's going to reduce. For example, this carbon taxing, carbon prices, etc. If we have laws that are actually addressing all these climate problems that we are facing, I think it is really going to help us as far as making sure that we have a sustainable future and a sustainable environment is basically concerned. So I'll stop here because I talk a lot. So you just let me know when I'm going too much, so I'll stop and then allow my other panelists to also take the floor.
No, that's absolutely wonderful, Fatou. Thank you so much for sharing that information. And I'm just going to move over to Toon, because Toon has not spoken yet. So what are the 3 things that you feel are most important?
I'll try to keep it a little bit short, because I don't like to put too much the focus on the individual. But what I think that we can do as an individual is to start with is protesting. And that you can see that very widely. You can go on the street, you can can maybe do some civil disobedience, but for me, protesting is also informing people. So yeah, please educate the people that you know very well, but try to use your platform to reach new people and learn them something about climate change. I think that's something very important to raise awareness. A second point that you can, or a second thing that you can do as an individual, and it's also proven that you can really have an impact in this way, is just eat less meat, or stop eating meat, or stop consuming animal products. And for the very simple reason that on one side we see that indigenous land is taken because of all the bioindustry. And that's one very important point. On the other side, we see that a lot of CO2 comes in the air because of the meat industry. And that's something that you can really change as an individual. And for me, it's very simple. You can choose in between polluting a lot, eating meat, you can, or there will be land grabbing, but you can also choose to not do that or do that less. And I think it's, for me, it's quite obvious to choose the second thing. And that's something that you can change as an individual. And then the last point, and that's something that I did since 2 years, is stop flying or flying less. Try to use other transport. And I know that's a very difficult choice because we all like to travel, and that's very understandable. And for that, I refer to my first point, come on the streets and try to get your government to make trains cheaper, and so that you can also discover new ways of traveling. I think that are 3 very important things that you can do as an individual.
Excellent, excellent. They are really important. I do agree with all of those, and it's great that they vary also from Fatou's. And so over to you, Licypriya. What are the 3 things that you feel people could act on now to make a difference?
I have some concern and 3 main demands to our government and leaders of the world to change the system. First, to pass this climate change law. If they pass this climate change law, then we can control the carbon emission and greenhouse gases. Second, children must plant minimum 10 trees every year to pass their final examination. In India, we have 350 million students. If 350 million students plant 1 tree every year to pass their final examination. So we would plant 3.5 billion trees. Trust me, India will be green in after 5 years. Number 3, to include climate change as a compulsory subject in our school education curriculum. If they include climate change as a compulsory subject in our school education curriculum, then we can fight from the grassroots, and it will also help to educate our world leaders by their own children and grandchildren, because they can't believe in science and climate change is real. That's all.
And so how do you deal with the doubters, Licypriya? How, when you have people facing you that don't believe what is actually going on with the climate, and to all of you, Fatou, Toon, how do you respond to these people? So for you, Licypriya, what would you say, if you met people and they weren't believing what was going on with the climate, and they don't want to accept the science, and that's possibly because of fear, but what do you say to them?
I protest in the Parliament House of India, and telling to our leaders and the government to pass this climate change law, and giving awareness, and also helping the poor peoples, and also telling them that they should plant trees. Trees is very important for our lives. It gives us oxygen to breathe, and it will also help to control the carbon emission and greenhouse gases.
Mm-hmm. And you've created your own device for this as well, haven't you, to actually help people in the future to have cleaner air? Would you like to explain a little bit?
Okay. Sukifu means survival, kid for the future. Su means survival, ki means kid, fu means future, survival kit for the future.
That's incredible.
I've developed this device with the support of IT Jammu professor Chananko sir. We have developed this device. My device Sukifu and me want to send a strong message about the environmental degradation and resilience to the whole world. It will also give attention to the world leaders, scientists, experts, pollution control board who are responsible for a safe future.
That's fascinating.
And also my device will also give fresh air to our lungs, and it will also save our health from high air pollution.
You're a true inspiration, Licypriya. You really are, you know, to be doing this from such a young age. And, you know, a lot of people will believe that you're maybe being led by your parents or people around you, but you have a voice of your own. You know, you're your own person, and what you're achieving is incredible. And I really look forward to supporting your future and seeing where you go with things. I know you do have to leave us. This was such a short interview, and I really appreciate you giving us this time, and I hope that our viewers have all learned something from it, and will share this with their friends. And like I say, what I'll do is I will send an email out after as well with a link to the child movement, so that anybody who is interested can also join your movement and see how more they can support you in the future. So thank you ever so much for giving us your time, and yeah, and enjoy the rest of your day, Licypriya.
Okay, I want to tell something.
Yeah, please.
Okay, you can just see in Delhi how air pollution is so dangerous, and even children can't move out of the home. I'm worried about the health of the school children and small babies. Government announced that there would be holidays for 3 days and again for 5 days, 10 days. But this is not a solution. Our leaders are just busy in blaming each other instead of finding a long-term solution. They are just telling their speeches. They are not doing any action. I want our world leaders to do more action. Otherwise, our future and our planet would be dying soon. They must act now to save our planet and our future. You can just see in Arctic and Himalayas how icebergs are melting twice as fast than ever before, and our sea level are increasing, and our Earth is becoming very hot. I'm worried about the future of our planet, and many biodiversity hotspots become climate hotspots now.
Yeah.
I think you all heard in the news about Australia bushfire. More than 1 billion animals has died. Millions of trees has gone. I'm really very sad. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even take my food. Many children lost their homes, but this is the real effect of climate change.
Yeah.
Our leaders don't have time to listen us. Why they don't hear all our voice? But this is the real climate emergency. They must act now to save our planet and our future.
Yeah.
Today, I want to share something with everyone living in this world from a little hurt. We all know we are facing a pandemic on one side and flood, drought, heat wave, cyclone, etc. on another side. Now, this is the time to wake up. And this is the time to open up your eyes. This is the time to send your children and grandchildren to fight for their survival and for their own future. The best gift parents can give to their children is not a beautiful house, expensive cars, lots of money. The best gift you can give to your children is a beautiful planet. To give this planet, you have to empower yourself. If you can empower yourself, then you can empower your family. If you can empower your family, then you can empower your neighborhood. If you can empower your neighborhood, then you can empower your community. If you can empower your community, then you can empower your state. If you can empower your state, then you can empower your country. If you can empower your country, then you can empower the whole world. Empowerment means independent. Independent means freedom. Freedom is when you can protect your land and environment. Freedom is when you can protect your children's future, culture, and health. Freedom is when no one can discriminate you on on the basis of caste, creed, color, sex, or any other differences. Freedom is when you can read and write. Freedom is when you are out of hunger. Freedom is when we are all together in this fight. Fight for your freedom. Thank you, Jai Hind, Sonali Manipur Nayafri. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. It really has. Obviously, there's a lot of people out there who are scared to get involved in political issues. And you know, they fear to go to protests. What would you say to them? What do you, because obviously protest is a big part of how you feel people can get involved, and you're very much in the area of politics and pushing for green deals, but people who are afraid to get involved and they still want to help, what advice would you give them? How did you get involved in the first place, if that's not too long a question?
Yeah, I'll first answer on the last part. So something that I saw that really helps to get people involved in the climate issue, or getting people involved in protests, is very simply asking what they are afraid of, or asking what they love, what they like to do, because it's climate change will affect almost every part of our lives. And I think if we can go into what people like, what they love, what their ideals are, you can try to link that to the issue of climate change. And I think that's what we should try to do. And to give an example, someone that I know very well was becoming a granddad. And afterwards, he got more involved in the climate issue, for the very simple reason that he also wants to protect the future of his grandchildren. And I think we can try that with a lot of people, because everything will get affected because of climate change, and people should be aware of that. And I think if we link that to what they like, to what they love, they can also get involved in the protesting.
That's fantastic. And it's love, isn't it? At the end of the day, the reason we're all here now, we're talking, we're sharing this information, we're wanting to help people to not only get a better understanding of what's happening with regards to the climate, but on what they can do to help. And that comes down to love at the end of the day. You know, we're giving our time because we care for humanity. Now, it can be very, I know for a lot of activists, you get a lot of anxiety. It can get very hard. There's a lot of weight on your shoulders when dealing with this. Fatou, how do you deal with, you know, when things start to feel like they're getting too much? How do you relax? How do you switch off?
Actually, you know, I was invited to a podcast interview just on Friday, and the center of discussion was actually on this, like how activists, especially Caribbean activists, can, you know, have proper self-care and realize that when they are burning out, they need to take time, relax, and come back again. So I'm very happy to actually answer this. I think this has been a major problem for us as activists, because we really don't have resources where we can be able to, you know, make sure that we take time for ourselves, make sure that we are in good health and good shape, especially when the work is overwhelming or when everything is actually very stressing. Personally, what I do is when I start burning out, or when I realize that, you know, things are really, you know, getting overwhelming for me, I try as much as possible to go to the beach, because that is where I find solace. Because whenever I'm there, everything just gets off my head, and I'm really peaceful. I'm at a peaceful place, and I feel very comfortable. And, you know, just try as much as possible to think of how I can be able to get out of the situation I am in, and see how I can be able to, you know, move further with the work that I'm doing. So that is one thing that I actually do, and that is one thing I love doing. So every week I go to the beach. Even though we have a pandemic and all, but I try as much as possible to have my mask on and everything, go there, and so that I could just relax. And it's something that I do because I all my with my climate activism, it's mostly also working with children, that is young people. And whenever I work with young people, I really just I'm always very happy, and because whenever I see them smile, whenever I see them learning and getting excited about what they are learning, it really makes me happy. So also in some way, working with young people really just helps me out, especially when I'm trying to burn out and when I really need time for myself. So even if it doesn't have to do with climate activism, but whenever I sit and, you know, have conversation with kids around my area and just hear what they're doing and just see them how happy they are, it really helps me out. So that is another form of self-care that I actually make sure that I try to utilize, able to make sure that I continue with the work that I'm doing. So, however, I would emphasize the need for more resources for self-care in the activism phase, in the activism space, because that is personally what I think we really lack. Because most of these activists, or most of us, don't even realize when we are starting, when we start burning out, we don't realize that things are actually getting overwhelming on us, and we feel very guilty when we start, relaxing. We feel very guilty if we just take time for ourselves to just relax and make, find time for ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think the system has made it really in some way inconvenient for us to really just know that we also need to find time for ourselves, so that we can be able to properly give back to our society. Because if we are not the best of ourselves, it makes it difficult for us to be able to make sure that we do our best to make sure that we give out or give back to our communities as far as our work is concerned. So that is what I'll just urge my fellow activists to continue doing, because this is really crucial. And I know it's really overwhelming for us with everything that is going around, and with the fact that our leaders are really not helping us in some way, because all the demands that we are making, most of them have still not been realized, especially when it comes to the policies and the grassroots implementation across, the national level implementation for our stakeholders. So I really urge us to really make sure that we find time for our own self-care, find time for ourselves, relax, decompress, and then get back on our feet and continue the amazing work that we're doing.
Excellent, excellent. It's so important. Mental health is so important. And like you'll say, you're going to be so much more productive when you're in a better state of mind. So that's fantastic, Fatou. Thank you so much for sharing that. Are you okay for time? Do you need to leave us now as well? We're near the end, so.
Yes, if we have any final question, I'll be happy to answer it before I take my, because I have another call.
Okay, and well, I'll ask you this then, and then I'll go to Toon. So which leaders would you say, is there anybody within the world at the moment that you think is actually doing a good job? Because there's so much criticism on politicians and corporations about what they're doing wrong. Is there anybody that you feel they're actually doing a fantastic job, and this is who we should be looking to?
Personally, I think the person that I actually choose for this is Angela Merkel, because I think she has been not only a very influential leader, but she has also been doing very well in terms of high recycling policy and the strict environmental laws that she has put in place for Germany. And I think this is something that is worth emulating, because she is a female leader that has really been doing amazingly well and has been inspiring us to be personally for me, because I've been following her the development that Germany has actually been registering as far as their climate policies, as well as the regulations that we have are concerned. And I think she's been doing exceptionally well. And the same thing for Rwanda as well. And Rwanda is also doing great, especially when it comes to how clean their city is, how they make sure that, pollution is really not something that they actually entertain in their country. So I think this is something that other world leaders really need to emulate, because it doesn't make sense for us to be going to, attending COPs every year, talking about our NDCs, talking about all the articles, talking about the Paris Agreement and everything. And when we go back to our home countries, we have very little to implement at national level. So I think this is what we really need to sway away from. We try as much as possible to do more of implementation and less of the talking, because that has been a major problem for us. And we have very few world leaders that are actually doing that, especially when it comes to climate action. We have more of talking from them, but little implementation. And at this point, I think this is what we need. We need to see on-ground action. We need to see on-ground impact as far as the climate is concerned. We need to reduce our pollution. We need to reduce all the activities that we're doing that are really not conducive for our environment. Because, like I mentioned, at the end of the day, we are the very ones that are going to be impacted the most, because they will come and they will go, but we are going to be here. And if we don't take action now, and if we don't really put pressure on our leaders to take action now, then it's going to be a bigger threat for us. Because, just for example, in the Gambia and Banjul, where I live, we have been having threats of sea level rise for quite a while now, for over years now, because of the impact of our environmental activities. And with just 1 meter, just 1 more meter of sea level rise, the capital city is going to be flooded. So imagine over 45,000 people actually losing their lives and their livelihoods due to the impact of climate change. So these are things that I'm really concerned about, and things that I really want to see our world leaders actually doing. And like I mentioned, Angela is doing very well, and Paul Kagame, and I think our world leaders can basically do more in terms of action.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that one, can't we? That definitely so much more needs to be done, and it needs to be done quickly. I really thank you for your time with us, Fatou, and again, I will give mention to your to your company, your foundation, within the email, and I'll speak to you further after this call. But thank you ever so much for your time and for your advice, and I wish you a fantastic day ahead.
Thank you so much. It was
All right.
really amazing being here with you and sharing my knowledge. Thank you very much for organizing this very important event, because in this pandemic, I think we need to utilize our digital spaces to create more awareness about it. And this is what you have done. And I really wish to appreciate this effort that you've done. And I think it's really going to be helpful in one way or the other, including awareness about our environment. So thank you very much, Toon. Thank you very much for also taking time, and every other participant here. It was really actually a huge pleasure being here today.
Thank you, Fatou.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. All the best.
Thank you.
Bye. So it's you and me now, Toon.
Yes.
So I'm just going to have a look and see what questions we have here. And I would like to ask you as well, I mean, how do you switch off from all of this? Because you've been actively going to all kinds of events and actually going inside Parliament buildings and protesting. And so what way have you found that you've been able to switch off most?
There is something to me, there was something very important that I learned, I think, 6 or 7 months ago. It was after I had a very difficult period because I was involved a lot, and you have a huge feeling of responsibility. Then you are working with a group, and you also start to feel responsible for the group itself, although you aren't, but you're part of the group, so you also feel responsible. Besides, you also start feeling responsible for the climate crisis. And something very important that I learned there is making very clear what individual responsibility is and what our collective responsibility is. And at the moment that I start to recognize this, at the moment I found out that I'm not individually responsible for everything, but that and of course, I believe that you're obliged to protest and be involved in activism if you're able to think beyond your personal perspective. So in that case, okay, you are a bit individual responsible, but you're not as an individual responsible for the climate movement, neither for the climate crisis. And yeah, you should be involved in activism, but no, it's totally fine to take a few days off, and things will not fall or stand with your involvement. And that's something very important that I had to learn, just to say to myself, okay, it's totally fine to take a few days off, being not involved, taking some time for myself. On the other side, something that I think that's also really important is this community feeling that should be worked on in the climate movement, where being with your friends is also relaxing. So working on activism is also a way of being relaxed. And I think we can create this via creating a community of activists. And that's something that should be worked on more, at least in Youth for Climate Belgium. And I think there are a lot of great examples of movements that have done this before, creating this community feeling. And I also believe you can reach a lot more than.
Mm-hmm. So you feel for viewers that it's important for them to not just try and actively do things themselves, but to actually get involved in a movement or even create a movement and start bringing people together.
Yeah, I think it's very important.
Excellent. Well, I will let you also go and enjoy your day. It has been an absolute pleasure to speak with you, Toon, and it's such an important issue that needs to be addressed on how we can tackle the climate crisis. And over the coming weeks, I'm going to do more webinars like this with wild animal experts, with environmentalists, with other activists, scientists, people that are involved in so many different ways to what is happening with the climate issues, and also different areas of what we can actually address and how we can change things. And I believe, like you, it's about coming together, you know, because it's amazing having all of these movements and all of these organizations and charities. But when it comes to a crisis, you know, the more people work together, the bigger impact we can have on making change. So thank you ever so much for your time, and I wish you all the best with whatever you're involved in right now, and for Youth for Climate in Belgium. And yeah, I look forward to speaking to you all in the future.
Cool. Thank you for organizing this webinar.
Thank
Bye.
you, Ian. All right. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.